Hi everyone, it's Oliver here and welcome back to another audio commentary. For this podcast I'm joined again by Rob Hill, aka The Bad Movie Bible, and stand-up comedian Nick Helm to discuss Alien Covenant. So lads, are you excited for Alien Covenant?
No, absolutely not.
No, like really not. And also, I feel like you said the other week, you said, all right, well, let's put a date in for Alien Covenant. And I was like, I'm sure we've done Alien Covenant. Have we not done it? I feel like I've lived through it already once, and now we've got to do it again. It's bad news day.
I tried rewatching it because I haven't seen it since it came out, and I must admit, I for the first time in a long time, I just couldn't finish it. I did try a few times. I got quite a long way in, but the last 20 minutes, once they're falling about on the roof of that whatever it is, looks like a car park. I can't bear it.
Mm. But yeah, I think the last section of the movie just becomes a condensed version of the first film, and it's not like I say, as we'll go through this, I mean, I don't think it's a badly made film in terms of its execution of effects and production design. I think it's very much the fundamental problem I think that lies at all of it is how David creates the alien, and it's not come from something else, what we all kind of perceived it would be. That's my take on that.
Yeah, that sounds like an apologist's take to me.
Don't lump me with them. No. Okay, folks, if you want to sync up this podcast with your own copy of the film on Blu-ray or via streaming on Disney+, put the timestamp to 0 and press play now.
Beautiful.
I like the way they've decolorized they've saturated the 20th Century Fox logo.
Just in case you forgot which decade you were living through when this came out, of course they've made it teal.
He didn't attempt to try and do a sort of bespoke version, like Alien 3 or I think even Romulus would later do that, wouldn't it?
Right, they just turned the colour contrast down. Well, you already know it's a good film because 20th Century Fox logo has been included, so that's good. I like this Scott-free... Oh, we talk about the logos, yeah? I like this Scott-free logo.
Yeah, I like this as well.
So, lads, I think most people were disappointed with Prometheus, right? I mean, we weren't fully like in love with it.
We could talk more about the Scott-free logo, yeah?
So, Nick, where did you think this film was going to go? Because obviously you saw the trailers. Were you kind of intrigued, or were you like, what's happening here?
Well, I love Alien, so I'm on board with Alien. I think Alien is one of the best films ever made. It's maybe in my top 10. And I like Aliens a lot, and I like Alien 3 a bit, and then I'm out. I hate Alien Resurrection. The Aliens vs Predator films aren't worthy of either franchise, and Prometheus is like an oddity. The fact that this isn't a direct sequel to Prometheus, really, it doesn't do either, is like its biggest crime.
That is one of the most frustrating things I think about this. Is it's the classic example of one of these movies where the makers kind of go, oh, everyone hated the fact that there weren't aliens in it, so we'll put loads of aliens in the next one. And then everyone hates the next one, and they just say, well, what do you want? What do you want? As if it's the fans' fault. And that kind of thinking's always bugged me, because it doesn't allow for the fact that there are all kinds of fans of all kinds of different opinions, and none of them should be listened to. If you're making a film, make your fucking film. Don't start asking the fans what they want. They're idiots. They're people like me. I'm going to suggest something completely different to what Ollie's going to suggest. So just do your own thing.
But I also think like having asked everyone to invest 2 hours of their time into Prometheus, regardless of how that reaction was, if you're going to do a sequel, you've got to do a sequel to that. And saying like, well, that didn't work. It's like, it's your job to make the sequel better, right? That's literally your job. It's like with The Force Awakens, and they were like, well, we couldn't work out how to fit Luke Skywalker into it. And it's like, well, that's your job.
Exactly. All the problems are solvable in movies if you work hard enough.
Well, it's just it's not you don't even get the lead character from Prometheus being brought over from that to this. You've got a short film that you've got to watch independently on YouTube by yourself to like piece it all together. I think it's crazy.
Do you think this is a sort of a classic example of course correction? Because obviously Ridley had his own original idea, and then he would obviously react to the feedback. And as Rob was highlighting, don't listen to the fans. But they were very much like, well, Prometheus had made money. It wasn't like it was a flop. I think maybe down to the 3D ticket sales would have helped boost it. But in the case of Covenant, which wasn't going to be in 3D this time, it was too much of a sort of technical kind of nightmare to do. And I think that the census was that the studios knew the 3D format was kind of struggling by this point, so we're going to skip all that. But it was clear that we've got to give them what the fans kind of wanted, because again, it all goes back to Prometheus with its confusing marketing, where Fox were like, "This is an alien movie," and then Ridley Scott's like, "No, it's something kind of different," and then this had to be an aliens movie from the get-go, because once this sequence is over with, you're going to hear the classic Jerry Goldsmith theme tune for Alien. And when I saw this in the cinema, I was like, okay, this is Alien again, because the music's here. And I was like, I love this fucking music. But it did kind of, in a classic sense, kind of flick those nostalgia switches. And it worked for me. But then as things begin to unfold, and then you saw that David had created the xenomorph, it then creates a whole new wave of problems. And this is again with the writers. The writer of Gladiator was brought on after a number of kind of failed attempts to sort of create a new script. I think they kind of took some ideas from things, but once you kind of, his problem was combining the suspense of Alien and the scares with the philosophy of Prometheus, and this is what you got, this kind of two things kind of bashing together and not quite gelling.
Well, I feel like it was Ridley Scott saying, right, I've got to make an Alien film, but I also want to finish off my Prometheus thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's literally two ideas being rammed together. I mean, the best thing about this sequence here is that it explains why Guy Pearce had such terrible makeup in the first film.
Yeah, because I've forgotten about that. They cut all of the scenes of him as a young man out of that, didn't they? So it was completely pointless casting a young guy and then aging him up.
So they got their money's worth this time. I mean, even this is kind of, it immediately makes you think of Alien, right? And that's a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a double-edged sword, reminding everyone of a much better film, isn't it? Like, some people it's gonna make them more positive about this one, and it's gonna make them assume it's good, like Ollie did. And some people are just gonna go, well, I could be watching Alien instead of this piece of shit.
This falls into your argument, Rob. You bring up multiple times. It's fan service. Of course, it's fan service. You know what I mean? It's giving you exactly what you want.
Giving the fans more of what they liked in the first film is kind of your job, I think, as a filmmaker. And where that falls into fan service, everyone's going to have a different view on. But that's not the same as like reacting to what the fans say and then letting that steer the direction of your movie. That's just madness, because you can't do that. Everyone's got different ideas.
But it's the Jerry Goldsmith theme itself is an integral part of Alien, right? And there'd be little nods to it throughout the other scores, a little piece of it, but not the whole, cue, like, suite of music. So I think fundamentally it's still part of the franchise where you could use it again and not be so like, oh, we're just doing it for fan service. Oh no, it's the theme of Alien. Here we go. Because if Prometheus has it, doesn't it? When Wayland appears as a hologram and goes da da da, da, kicks in. So it's kind of, it's there, but that's deployed for Wayland and not actually the opening titles.
It's funny. What you're referring to as the problems with the movie aren't things I've got a massive problem with. The whole thing of what David's doing and what he's making, to be honest, I'd completely lost interest in that in Prometheus, so I don't really care what the story is. What bugged me was just how stupid the writing is. I just couldn't believe that every scene, every moment, there's just so many things that don't make sense. Why is he dressed like Eminem? Why is he walking around he's a robot on a spaceship? Why is he wearing a hoodie? What sense does that make?
But also, this is a prequel to the Alien trilogy, right? And this is the second film we've had where the android is just walking around when everyone's asleep, and it's kind of like, in Alien, they didn't know they had an android. Androids were kind of like an anomaly, and he was in the hypersleep with everyone else. And that may have been like the company trying to hide the fact that he was an android by making him, sleep with everyone else. But it's kind of like they've changed the whole way that androids work in the Alien franchise.
Yeah, and what they do and what they're responsible for as well. Like there's a bit here. In a minute he tells the ship to close its sails because there's a storm coming. And so, why is that the robot's job? What if the robot didn't notice? Can the ship not do that itself? Does it need to be told? And it's just to give him things to do, isn't it? For there to be a reason to have him walking about like this.
Yeah, and you could have easily started this film without that and just have the spaceship getting into trouble, do you know what I mean? Which brings them out of hypersleep, which brings them up to the distress call, which brings them onto the planet. But they've kind of like added this character in because Ridley Scott just loves Michael Fassbender.
Exactly, yeah. He was like the only thing everyone agreed on being really good in Prometheus, wasn't it? Michael Fassbender's performance as David. So obviously there has to be two of them in the sequel, and he's got to be knocking about on his own doing stuff. And
you were saying like how sort of bad the writing is. I do agree with you. It is. I think the problem being is that it falls into the trap of having, like Prometheus, stupid characters doing silly things, and this they go a bit too far with their stupidity because they land on the planet in the next 20 minutes or so. They're told by the system they can breathe, and it's the oxygen level's fine, and they just stroll around without any protective gear on, like less so than Prometheus. And you think, what are you doing?
I know. Well, that's if you remember, I commented in the Prometheus commentary about how utterly ridiculous it is that they just take their helmets off, but here they don't even put them on in the first place. They just walk out of the ship.
This is James Franco getting burnt alive for his half-second cameo
because no one there can open the cryo chamber for some reason.
There must be like an emergency button, surely, guys.
Yeah, some kind of quick release. Just
here he is, James Franco.
All crisp. The Franco stuff. There's two trailers, wasn't there? So we have an extended trailer about Elizabeth Shaw and David traveling through space to the new planet. And then the other one was basically, I think it's called The Last Supper or something like that. I think they're both directed by, I think maybe one of them directed by Ridley Scott's son. But yeah, there's Franco's basically extended role where everyone, before they go into hypersleep. So it's weird casting, like having him, and you got Danny McBride.
This is like, what were they thinking?
Yeah.
I think Danny McBride is fine in this, and
he is fine in this. But you sort of deploy him not to be funny, and it's kind of, I don't know. It seems like a somewhat waste of his talent, so to speak.
Like Ridley Scott goes on in the documentary about how he's meant to be like Slim Pickens in Dr. Strangelove. That's his role. That's why he wears the cowboy hat. And Slim Pickens in Dr. Strangelove is a massive, loud character. Like, he's not. It's nothing like. And I've got nothing against Danny McBride, and I think he does do a perfectly good job. But Danny McBride and James Franco don't fit in a really serious Alien movie. They make me think stoner comedy. They don't make me think terror in outer space.
I don't know. I think Danny McBride does a good job at being kind of like that Yaphet Kotto type character from the first one. But again, they're just recycling tropes from the first one,
Yeah, every character is just a caricature.
And James Franco's character climbs mountains. What a twat.
Yeah.
Fill your book.
That's they're outtakes from 127 hours, I reckon.
So did those extra little short films, they were never part of this film that got cut for time?
That's a good question, Nick. I do know a number of scenes were deleted, obviously, just down to the pace of the runtime, but it's kind of weird. Maybe I think they probably were part of the film, and then they decided, look, we should cut these out, but then we could trim them a little bit and restructure them for like an epilogue because you wouldn't go in I don't think filmmakers would think, okay, let's make a movie, then shoot these 2 scenes to be released as epilogues. You know what I mean? It just kind of wouldn't make sense. You think you just do it the whole piece and then you just cut it out.
Unless it's just Ridley Scott being futuristic about it and thinking the future is in, multimedia promotional stuff.
Well, you could go that way, because he did exactly the same thing with Prometheus, didn't he? He did those kind of like Guy Pearce as a young Wayland doing those TED Talks, and you had those infomercials about Wayland, and his...
There's also a whole load of Alien shorts, aren't there, that have been made over the last few years. It seems to have been something that this series has embraced, the idea of having all these little offshoots and little like backup things.
Yeah.
I don't like Billy Crudup. Is it Billy Crudup?
Yeah.
I don't like. I don't mind Billy Crudup. I don't like his character in this, and it's kind of like he's one of the main characters, and he's such kind of like a weak, unlikable character. And then is that Jesse Smollett?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking hell! Fucking hell!
I had to sort of loosely brush over his recent stuff, in the retrospective, just not go down that rabbit hole, Because you got these kind of like, again, you got a large number of characters again, less so than Prometheus, but again, once things kick off, once they land on the planet, and then they're attacked by the white kind of like Milky Bar aliens, they you lose track of who's who.
Yeah, they're really badly established, aren't they?
And no one gives a fuck about any of these characters.
Most of them are going to be dead in a minute anyway.
And aside from the actors, this is literally offering nothing new, right? They're skirting over the characterization of the rest of the crew, because we've done that in other films. We just want to hit the ground running. But we're on another spaceship with another group of kind of like, I don't know, what are they, roughnecks that are all kind of like on their way out to...
Well, they're all colonists, aren't they? This is
that's the twist, isn't it? But we're not looking at anything different here.
No, that's the thing. There is nothing in this movie that is in any way like multi-layered or original. Or the only characters that I can remember like jumping out at me are Billy Crudup is like lacking in confidence and really pious. That's his character. And Danny McBride has a hat. That's his character. And then everyone else is just a face. There's nothing to define them apart from Michael Fassbender.
Catherine Waterstone, I mean, she obviously, I suppose, probably best known for her roles in the Harry Potter kind of prequels, but
which one's she? I'm not sure.
Well, she's the Ripley stand-in.
Right. Oh,
you know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
But she does. I mean, her performance again is quite good, but she spends the entire film depressed because she's lost her partner. But
yeah,
she does. It's difficult to sort of fully embrace her character, because she's just spends the entire time like she's about to burst into tears.
She's another Ripley substitute, right?
But she's a fucking shit one though, compared to Prometheus. What's her name in Prometheus? Who's like a real character. What's her first name even? Has she even got a first name? There is nothing to her. There's no like definable characteristics other than that she's unhappy.
Well, she's the female lead in an Alien movie, and then that's kind of like what her job is.
They forgot to give her all the meat that made the female lead in an Alien movie a worthwhile thing, though.
I mean, I did Sunday Brunch with her, the TV show, and she had really long hair, and it's just made me think, like, they even cut her hair to make her look like, Sigourney Weaver in the second one.
Yeah.
Was this after Covenant you met her?
Yeah, it was. I think it was last year, actually, beginning of last year. Yeah, I mean, she's nice, but I mean, there's no real character. I mean,
no, that's it. There's just nothing to her. They don't give her anything to do.
I tell you what, I didn't recognise her. I didn't know that she was in Alien Covenant when I met her, and then afterwards I put 2 and 2 together, and I think it's because they've just kind of given her this like short haircut kind of makeover type thing, and it's like. Yeah, just so that she'll look like the other women in all the other Alien films, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe that's continuity. Maybe in the future they all get short haircuts. But I feel like they're literally trying to make us remember. It's nostalgia, isn't it? To make you kind of like go, oh, we're in the right territory.
Yeah, and Alien has to have a really strong, dark-haired woman at its centre somehow. And
I mean, I already hate this film because. because it's they've got rid of Elizabeth Shaw, right?
That was yeah.
That was James Cameron's biggest beef.
At the end of Prometheus, they promise us this adventure that they're going to go on. It's her and this head, and then they're going to go to the next planet, right? They promise us that, and then they just literally immediately they don't fulfill that promise. Maybe she's coming up later. Maybe we'll find her later. Maybe that's the thing. But it just feels like it feels like Ridley Scott got bullied into doing something that he didn't really want to do. And it's like what you say, at the end, the last half hour of the film is like a sped up version of the original film. We've got another fucking alarm going off with a flashy light, and another is an airlock again this time. It's like, how many times are you going to do the fucking airlock?
Yeah. Sadly, I don't think it is Ridley Scott being sort of bullied into it. I think he has. I mean, he's an old man. He's very old now, and he makes these movies with an extraordinary team around him doing... It's a bit like the way Steven Spielberg operates now. He kind of bowls in at 9 o'clock, directs for a few hours, then goes home. And a lot of the jobs that are done by, like a more single-minded director are done by other people now. That Gladiator movie that you saw recently, Ollie, I've not seen it, but that sounds like exactly the kind of movies that Ridley Scott's been making for a while now.
What, Gladiator 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Gladiator 2, everyone, I saw it, I didn't like it at all. And people said it was a very rushed production. Where the actress in the film who reprises her role, she said the first film, they'd spend about 3 hours on a setup. On number 2, it was 15 minutes. And he was shooting like 5-6 cameras, per shot. And the DP was like, I can't, how are you supposed to, cover all this and make it consistent?
How can you light and,
You got one key light or something like that. And
that's what's interesting about Gladiator 2 is you look at it and, there's even at the beginning and there's shots of the ships, the boats coming in. And you kind of like look at it and you kind of go, is that the angle you've picked, Ridley? Do you know what I mean? It's like, they're not like classic shots. They're not framed great. They're kind of like, it's coverage,
Yeah,
and it's
totally.
kind of,
Totally. Because I sat through that film thinking, why have you used constant mid-shots and close-ups where this is a film about scope and its grandness.
Yeah.
And you watch the original one, he's got that there. The sequel, it's like, what?
The choreography is off. You can see there's a bit where Paul Mescal is having a sword fight with a guy in front of the rhinoceros head. And the stuntman is guiding Paul Mescal's hand so that he can stab him. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, you've left that in the film. I think the shots here, it's well put together. It's a really, really, really well-made film.
It is absolutely beautiful. That is not something that he dropped the ball on. I think it does look stunning. And there's some dodgy effects for me personally, but the framing then was just beautiful. There's that CG arm swings round and the camera moves with it, and all the stuff down on the planet in that kind of rainforesty looking area is really, really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, the production design is, again, with Ridley, it's always going to be like top class, you know what I mean? And again, I never fault this film for how it looks. I think it comes with Ridley Scott. Everything looks pretty much bang on.
Yeah, that's what Cameron... I saw Cameron being interviewed about this. He was asked what he thought about it. And it was one of those... where he couldn't bring himself to say it was shit. So he just kept... it's beautiful. I always love Ridley as a stylist. It looks great. It looks really good. It's beautiful to look at. And, it's good looking. It's really funny.
How many other words can I describe good looking? Because as I mentioned earlier, because Cameron was disappointed because Elizabeth Shaw, who he invested in, and like most of us on Prometheus, she got completely thrown under the bus. And she's killed off screen. You have to see you have to watch an epilogue to see her journey, which kind of abruptly ends anyway. And they introduce a whole new set of characters, forget that storyline, but then try to finish it off, to sort of go somewhere else.
I hate Prometheus. Well, I mean, Prometheus is like a guilty pleasure, right?
Love-hate
it's like
thing.
It's like a bad film that I will switch on in the background and I'll enjoy, right? But it's a setup for further adventures that we never get. And I just think that there was a good sequel to Prometheus, there were better films that they could have made. You know, it's a slight wobble at the start, but they could have made better films from that setup. And, you know, immediately he's abandoned it all.
Do you think this is the Alien 3 problem over again?
Do you know what? I've made one of the biggest notes I made is just how much this reminded me of Alien 3 in certain superficial ways. So it starts like, so you've got two people survive the previous film, and then they're one of them's killed off, you know, like Hicks, one of the main characters, is just like, oh yeah, he's dead, by the way. Then they find themselves on this weird religious community, and everyone's just so fucking unhappy and miserable all the time. And it's do you know what I mean? Those are things that these two movies have in common that are nothing to do with any of the other Alien movies.
Mm. It's getting people invested in characters and taking them away from you in such an insultingly clumsy manner.
Yeah, maybe, but I never really, you know, Hicks and Newt dying off screen never really bothered me. I think, you know, the alternative was that they'd bring them back and kill them off in the first 15 minutes. Do you know what I mean? And
it's not as glaring as what they do here with the actual main character, because Ripley was the main character and she survived. So yeah, I know what you mean, but at the same time, it's kind of disappointing because the whole Aliens is basically about saving Newt. That's the only real thrust that movie has, and then they just kill her afterwards. It's kind of
even though it's Sigourney Weaver, you know, as the through line, they're anthology movies, you know. They're kind of like each director takes what the other one did and then does something different with it. And I think the Alien franchise can handle that, and I think the Star Wars franchise can't handle that. And I that's one of the things I liked about it. Like the first few Mission Impossible films, it was like the director dictates the style of the film, you know. I like the Mission Impossible films, but what I liked about them at first was that there was that passing on the baton thing that they were doing.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Where everything's got its own vibe, its own feel.
So I never really, I mean, I liked Alien 3, but I didn't like it as much as the others. But I don't really have a problem with Alien 3. I feel like it finishes off the Ripley storyline. Alien Resurrection never happened, you know?
But it's in the case of Prometheus, it seems to be their intention was to have Elizabeth Shaw be a continuing character throughout this. She would be the new Ripley along with that. But then it's like, okay, is it going to be Daniels now in Alien Covenant? And then if they make a third one, which I think Ridley has said he wants to do another one because of the success of Romulus, I don't know if it's going to be a sequel to that or it's going to be like, let's finish off David's storyline. But it's now become a David movie. It's all about David now. It's not about Elizabeth Shaw. That's where he switched because Fassbender was such a good actor and everyone kind of liked his performances. That's dictated the direction of this new prequel series.
And I think that is a really interesting idea, you know, because we're dealing, you know, with AI right now, right? And we've invented this thing, and then AI is going to be, you know, we are gods of AI, and it will take over and it will destroy us, right? And that as a concept, having that as a character who is disappointed with his creators, that is on the search for something bigger and better in the world, and then he becomes his own creator. I think that's a really interesting thing. You just don't need any of the alien stuff in there.
Yeah. Set it in this universe if you want to, but the alien has to occupy the space in it that it occupies, which is relatively small and minor. Yeah, there's all kinds of other. But also, is that an interesting tangent for this series to have gone off in to be exploring the where the alien comes from is what Ridley Scott originally wanted to explore with Prometheus, and I'm not sure I care, to be honest.
That's not remotely interesting. The thing that's interesting is the space jockey with the hole in its chest and all of the imagination that you bring to it. That's what's interesting. Finding out that I mean, I do have a theory, and I think I've talked about it in the Prometheus thing, but finding out that David basically invented the aliens is you know, and that by the time that they find them. Well, here's the thing, isn't it? It's just like in Alien, the space jockey is what you call fossilized, right? So it's been there for thousands of millennia, right? It's been out there for ages. So the fact that this is set, 30 years before Alien?
Yeah, which blew your mind and mine when Rob told us the dates. We were like, what?
And this one is 17 years before Alien.
Absolutely bullshit, right? And so you're not going to get this fossilized alien. So what I think is, and you have the mural in Prometheus of the alien, and what I think is that the aliens are an ancient race, and that David is basically through science recreating that species because it's the perfect organism, right?
So people keep saying, but why? Why is it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Romulus did a good thing about like the alien kind of like turning itself into like an asteroid and surviving outer space. I thought that was an interesting thing.
Well, I suppose it's like in the case of like Jurassic Park, where they brought back the dinosaurs, and David's done that and has completed some sort of DNA chain to sort of bring back this dead species. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, David is God, so we have created God. We created David. David is God, and then God creates the aliens, right? And I feel like it's this cycle.
But that's again ultimately would be the backlash the film got, wouldn't it? Because everyone's imagination, the alien was this kind of parasite, and then
it's an alien.
Well, yeah, of course.
It's not an invention, and it's not a weapon.
And it's become something that's David's created, and it's kind of messed with the mythology that ultimately was very loose on paper, wasn't it? And it's only mostly filled in with our own imagination.
Yeah, as it should be, like the space jockey's backstory should be.
Yeah. It's the visual cues it gives you, the imagery tells you a lot, and you fill in that blanks and you get really excited. You talk about it with your friends to try and determine how did it get there. That's the fun part. But the problem is for filmmakers to now fill in those gaps, and in the case of Covenant, that's what it's trying to do, and it doesn't. Because at the end of Prometheus, we were implied they were going to the engineer's homeworld. This ends up being not actually the engineer's homeworld, but another world they've colonized and built these. And you see the structures of this city. It's like they've just Ridley's flicked through a book of Venice or Rome and just taken ideas from there, and kind of, and the artists have just kind of, just played around with those visual kind of architecture of history, and to create this alien planet, which doesn't seem alien at all.
Yeah, but also, we're seeing another dropship sequence where they're all getting like rattled around, and it's just like, again, we're yet to see anything new,
No, yeah, that was it is a classic example. Let's just give people what they want, and when you give them what they want, they're not happy, because Jenny has seen it all before. That's the thing, and also because of the gaps between each of these movies. So Alien was, when this came out, what? How old was Alien? Like over 30 years old, right?
Yeah.
When did this film come out?
2017.
Right.
So yeah, it's pushing it. So
getting on for 30 years, yeah.
Yeah, so you could theoretically go, well, we can redo some of these bits because it's been so long. But because the sequels have, again, taken some of these bits from Alien, it doesn't really...
I don't think anyone really cares if you repeat a formula, as long as you do it well, and that's the ultimate problem here. The formula is a lot of the original Alien and a lot of other things, but the problem is it's just not done very well. It's everything is a plot hole. It's like a first draft script got filmed.
Well, it's like they've just it's more like they've collected a script together just so they can make a film. I don't feel like it's been rushed into production. I just feel like they don't give a fuck about it anymore.
Yeah, maybe. Like, why are they landing here? Why are they landing? I think it's 8 miles from where they need to go to, in a fucking pond. Why not land in one of the massive wheat fields they walk through on their way to? Do you know what I mean? Why? Because it looks cool watching the ship land in water. That's why.
Do a fly over the planet and have a look to see if there's any.
They're going to. Like, they're following a signal, right? And the signal is 7 or 8 miles or something from where they've landed. And when they get there, they find it's a big structure, and they're surprised to find it. You didn't even cruise over it for a quick glimpse. beforehand. You went to an alien planet, landed in the first spot you saw in a lake, and then started hiking through the wilderness. That's not what people do.
You think going near the water would be more dangerous than actually, you know what I mean, just landing on dry land.
Yeah, but it looks cool.
I mean, I've just watched all the Final Destination films, and they are formulaic. Like, it's the same film that's been made 6 times. It's the same film with different deaths, and that's what the franchise is, right?
Exactly.
You go
That's
in,
what people
and
watch it for.
That's what you watch it for. I don't watch the Alien film for. I don't know. Maybe I watch it for different reasons, but I don't watch it for like hot alien action. Do you know what I mean? I think that first Alien film, what I love most about that out of all the franchise is the tone it hits.
The mood, yeah.
The mood, just everything about it that really isn't about the alien is what I love about it. And what's surprising is this is Ridley Scott, and he just doesn't get his own film that he made. And, the alien in this film is absolutely shoehorned in the last half hour.
And the Alien movies are, or the good ones, are always much more about the characters than the alien. And the problem here is there aren't any characters.
We don't know who any of these fucking characters are, and they're brand new characters that we've been introduced. And the only thing that really connects us to it is that we've seen it all before and we know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that is true.
And I still don't understand who they are, because this is a religious, like, commune, isn't it?
It's not religious. It's
Also, they're on an alien planet in a fucking weird wheat field, and they're having kind of a domestic as they're going around it.
I know, this is the other thing. At no point has anyone been mildly shocked to find fucking wheat growing on a distant planet. It's like that all these movies, they're all the same. That no matter what wild discoveries are made, everyone just goes, oh, yeah, that's that then, I guess.
Is she eating the wheat? She's just eating... Right, I mean, they're bellends. They deserve it. Fucking hell. Anyway, yeah. I mean, like I say, it looks nice.
It does.
Does it?
No, yeah, it does look great. I mean, no, I think it's when I saw this on a ginormous screen, it did really blow me away. It was,
Prometheus blew me away. Prometheus blew me away with the visuals. I don't think this matches Prometheus's.
This is kind of more of a sort of cooler colour palette and things like that. I think once the alien sort of kicks in, I think actually some of the more interesting stuff really plays into when they get back on the ship and the alien starts attacking, because also you got the opportunity to use CG, which is not everyone's kind of cup of tea, but you see the alien kind of do stuff which is kind of a bit more dynamic, but it's a darker film. It is a darker.
It's not the same alien. It's got like different bendy bits. Its joints are in different places. It's
different
not
action figure,
Well, yeah, it's a different. It's like an Alien Resurrection where their knees are on the other side of their bodies.
Oh right, yes, yeah.
It's a neomorph. These are called neomorphs. Apparently,
at least this has something a bit more going on with the planet, where Prometheus was just this barren thing, right?
I like that about it. I like that barren planet. I mean, this just looks like they found. This looks like Earth.
It does, yeah. When you see the croissant ship, I mean, it does. That's some cool visuals there. But yeah, it's not. You're not seeing anything radically different. It is kind of familiar locations to Earth.
They're going for a hike in the Peak District. You know what I mean? It's just like I don't care. I'm here for it. I saw it at the cinema. I saw it for the cinema. I saw it at the cinema, which means that I had enough hope left over from Prometheus to give it another go.
They've basically landed on Endor, haven't they?
Yeah. It is Endor. Stop touching things. Why are you touching everything?
Fuck's sake. I love it when the musical cue, every time the I don't know what the black stuff goes up the nose, the music just goes wee-hoo, it goes up the nose. It's always good.
I can't believe Jesse Smollett's in this. That's amazing.
I still can't believe Danny McBride's in it. What was he for? I've not seen him in much. I think I've only seen him in like this
Danny
in like, a couple of
McBride?
comedies. Yeah.
Danny McBride. Well, he wrote the Halloween movies, didn't he? The new ones.
He produced
Did
those,
he?
I think, as well. Yeah, yeah.
He wrote the modern Halloween movies.
Yeah, it was his. He pitched it. Him and David Gordon Green pitched it to John Carpenter, I think, and he said, "Yeah,
wow.
whatever."
Oh, that makes some sense because the last one is so unbelievably stupid. It's hilarious.
Oh, I loved the last one.
I really enjoyed the last one. Everyone hated it.
I
but
hated
thought
it.
It was properly stupid.
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was
It was
brilliant.
entertaining garbage, though. Halloween Kills, the sequel, was just so fun.
Halloween Kills was the worst, right? Halloween 2018. That's why Danny McBride. That's why you've got them talking about the Vietnamese sandwiches that the police guys are having a chat. That's all. I think that's all the Danny McBride stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think anyone who's given an opportunity to star in a Ridley Scott production, of, especially with Alien, they're going to say yes straight away.
Oh, of course, yeah. No, it's more like what led to him being cast in the first place. Because I think it's is it Eastbound and Down. That's what I kind of see him as being.
He's an actor, though.
So he's a sitcom star in an Alien movie, which means it's kind of like if Ronnie Barker was in the first Alien. It's like it would probably be really good, but it's just a really weird decision. Where did that come from?
Eric Sykes. Eric Sykes is in The Others, isn't he?
Oh, very true. Very true. Yeah, he's the groundskeeper or something, isn't he? Yeah, yeah.
That didn't pull me out of it. I think it's kind of a Jack Black thing with Danny McBride, where he started off as a straight actor and then became known for comedic roles, and then he sort of lent into that.
They're often very good at them as well.
I think that his instincts are in horror and dramatic acting, and he's in this. He wrote the Halloween films. He's kind of, he's more than that character, but that's what propelled him into this arena where he can be working with Ridley Scott.
Yeah, yeah. So it's me just wanting to force people to stay in their boxes. Then
I think so.
That's fine. That's fine.
So. I mean, I know we're not talking about it, but what I really liked about Halloween Ends was it's like it's Corey and Laurie, and so Corey is Laurie Strode, but if something had gone wrong when she was babysitting. I just found that as a parallel story really interesting. But again, it's like this, where they sort of shoehorn a Michael Myers story in the last half hour, and it's kind of like, oh, I was enjoying this even without him.
Michael Myers is used to that. It's fine.
Sure. Right. Okay.
Stop touching things. I mean, like, if I was in a forest on this planet, I wouldn't have touched that because the pollen it was going to give off would probably give me hay fever, or because a fox had probably pissed on it or something. Why are you going around touching everything?
Yeah, you'd think it'd be more like a puff of smoke rather than this sort of like CGI string of kind of atoms that go up his nose deliberately,
Then Ridley can do his micro shot of the world's cleanest ear.
So what's all this here? We've got this alien architecture all of a sudden.
Well, this is a cross-on ship, isn't it? That Elizabeth Shaw.
Right. That's what they're in. Right, that's Elizabeth Shaw's one. Oh, those are the fucking spacesuits. Fucking.
It's clear they didn't keep much of it, like some of the sets of it. Obviously, they've shot a lot of it in low light, so you can't see the full. Basically a small set. I think they've only got half of the actual control room where the engineer would sit. I think some of it obviously doesn't, because you can hide it all. So, and a lot of it again is it's practical stuff. There's a good push for doing a lot of stuff within camera in this movie.
Well, it's kind of a little bit like the original Planet of the Apes movies, where the first one was this lavish production, and then bit by bit they're kind of like, well, I guess we need to make some more masks because the glue's been eroded. Do you know what I mean? It's like the collection of stuff they've got to make the films gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, well, we'll get these out of the boxes and we'll try and make an alien film with what we got left over. I don't know.
I kind of like the costumes that they wear here, actually. These space, they're not spacesuits.
They look like
but,
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, but they seem like strangely appropriate for the landscape.
If you go look at the reviews at the time, because I'd highlighted 2 in my retrospective, Mark Kermode hated this film. You know, he said the dialogue was wasn't believable, like the natural conversations in Alien. It's a thing that a lot of people say. Ridley Scott is only as good as the script, and but the flip side, that Robbie Collin of the Telegraph gave it 5 out of 5. It was like, I can't wait to see where they're going to go with this.
What?
So there was this kind of weird switcheroo, because Robbie Collin, I generally I agree with a lot of what he says about.
You agree with someone in the Telegraph?
Well, I like Robbie Collin. He's pretty good, but I was surprised he was so in love with this movie.
Well, it's about killing aliens, isn't it? And right-wingers love killing people who aren't like us.
Did he?
That's completely unjustified. I apologise for that. I don't know the guy.
Did he get a set visit?
I don't think so.
I mean, it's like one of those things where it's just like, have some perks.
I did see a set visit from Adam Savage on this. Do you guys know who Adam Savage is? He's a bit niche, isn't he? I think, but he used to do Mythbusters, and he's a special effects guy.
I watch Adam Savage's YouTube channel.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? I'm a big fan of it, and there are videos on that channel of him visiting the set in Australia, and it says at the beginning, like, sponsored by 20th Century Fox. So it's like, oh, okay, so they've flown him out there, haven't they? So he's not got a bad word to say about anything. So he sees the alien head, and it's like, oh wow, that's amazing. That's even better than the one from the original movie, and it's awesome. But it's still fun to watch because there's some little nuggets behind the scenes.
Didn't Adam Savage work at ILM for a period?
Yeah,
he's got an FX background.
He was in practical effects. I don't know.
So he's gonna love it anyway.
Oh yeah,
he's watching it on another level, right? Because
he's a hardcore geek too.
Everyone that's involved in making films or TV or anything, they've all got their own job. And whenever you go to a screening, even if the film is absolutely shit, the makeup lady will always go, oh, it was brilliant. The makeup looked fantastic. And the costume department will go, what an amazing film. The costumes look great, you know. And Adam Savage is going, oh my God, it's an alien head and it's practical and all that stuff. You kind of lose the objective focus of the film.
You're absolutely right. And really weirdly, coincidentally, the first time I realised that, I was having a conversation with a visual effects guy after the cast and crew screening of like Harry Potter 2 or something. And all he was saying was, yeah, the effects were great. Yeah, but did you like the movie? I loved the bit when the effect did that. And it's like, okay. That guy, that's a guy called, who was a compositor where I used to work, called Charlie Henley, who I've always remembered because his dad is Drew Henley, who played Red Leader in Star Wars. And his mum's Felicity Kendall, who, if you're British, is an absolute institution. If you're not British, you've probably never heard of her. But watching this documentary, he keeps popping up in it. It turns out he was the visual effects supervisor on set, and they even interview him, which is odd for one of these movies.
So if you stuck around, Rob, you could have worked on this.
Exactly, yeah.
And you can complain and go, oh, the effects are really good here, Ollie.
I knew him when he worked at MPC. I don't know if he was doing when he was on this, but I went to the cast and crew page on the IMDb for this movie and put in MPC as a find subject to see if anyone I knew had worked on it. And there are nearly 700 results. So nearly 700 visual effects artists from just one company are credited on this.
Yes, I think, was it CineSight and MPC worked on this? I think they had different tasks they had to complete on this. Like some would handle like the spaceship stuff, or some would handle like the landscape and things like that. With special, but actually coming up now is obviously a pretty grotesque scene. I think it makes up for the lack of gore in Prometheus. This goes back. So it didn't quite shock me at the time when I saw it at cinema. I was like, oh, okay, they've gone back to really grotesque horror. You know, and it comes out his back and his whole spine breaks and it all flips over. It's pretty, it's different, put it that way.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for me though.
I think this might be the single stupidest sequence in the movie.
She's written to be an absolute dumbass. Where she runs in, slips on the blood, gets a leg caught.
Two of them of them slip and fall over on the blood in the space of 2 minutes.
It becomes a comedy, you know, like slapstick.
But just everything that happens in this sequence makes no sense. The way when they shot, so she's legged it and locked her in there. She's now begging to be let out, and then she goes over and the guy's having some kind of fit, and she gives him a hug.
Yeah,
Gives him a freaking hug.
I mentioned Cinecile. It's actually Frame Store and NPC. Handled most of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Same thing. So she's gone and given him a hug, and now she needs to be let out again. That's ropey CG, though. I'm not convinced by a lot of it. Maybe it's just a sequence, because there's a really bad moment in a bit coming up as well when she's trying to fight off the little neomorph with a knife.
I don't know who any of these characters are. Do you know what I mean? It's like even John Hurt at the beginning of the first one, he had like a joke where they were all like smoking and chatting with each other, and you got to see their personalities as they interacted. Exactly. So by the time he dies, you are invested in him as a character.
Clearly defined characters. But this is a bit. Watch this bit when it attacks her, and it's like wrapped around her and on her. And she's waving the knife in front of her and looking at something off in the distance. So I'm absolutely certain that in that shot, the thing was meant to be over on the other side of the room, but they decided it wasn't threatening enough, or they wanted it in shot. So they decided, and then they just comped it onto her. And it looks completely weird and wrong to me.
Yeah, because she kicks it, doesn't she? Then it comes back at her again. I think the comping there is good, though, with it about to jump on her. Oh, yeah, okay.
Just at first, it's like she's still waving the knife, and you can see her eyes aren't looking at the thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm going to put it out there. I think Danny McBride might be the best thing in this film. He brings so much personality to it just by him being there, and you kind of like go, I know what that character is, kind of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, unprofessional.
He's a space cowboy, do you know what I mean? It's like, I get it, right? Who are these guys?
That is a cliche, though. The cowboy hat for the space captain I thought that was so hackneyed. It'd been abandoned years ago. But in fact, Scott brings a few of these old hacky tropes back in this movie.
Yeah, but I'm not watching Alien 6 or 7 for originality at this point. Do you know? What is this? This is Alien 6.
God, it depends if you include the AVPs, I suppose.
No, I'm not including that.
No.
Shoot,
Shoot the gas canister. Here we go.
just shoot everything except the alien.
Are you going to blow up the entire ship? Fucking...
So, how did that happen? Just stop and think about how that happened and why that happened. Why did that whole sequence have to be? Yeah, fire, explosion, let me jump in it.
In some ways, writers they must be thinking, okay, we'll make these characters a bit stupid and to sort of get the audience tensed up and annoyed. Not annoyed to the point where they're going to be like, oh, I don't like this film, but it's to sort of, I don't know, some sort of cheap shortcut.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cheap shortcut. You can do... I'm always saying this, I know, but you can fix all these problems if you just put the time into it. If you just put the time into the script and write your way around it. You don't have to just... All right, we want to blow up the ship. We want the thing in the ship, so therefore the thing goes in the ship and everyone panics and runs away. You can have it all happen in a rational, sensible way.
I think, yeah, you can, but also I think that you can get away with plot holes and inconsistencies if you're invested in all the other elements of the film.
Oh, totally, yeah. You only notice these things when you're not enjoying it, I find. I do like that cut to Michael Fassbender.
But, there's plot holes in Jurassic Park, but you don't...
Yeah.
They don't bother you because you're invested in the film and you're kind of on the roller coaster. It's not, But again, I don't think that this is, I don't think this is an absolutely unsalvageable film. I think that I really hate it, but I would say it's a 2 out of 5 for me. I don't think it's not a 1-star movie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it depends how you look at it, doesn't it? I mean, technically, obviously, it's well made and all that. It just happens to hit my sweet spot from the type of movie I just don't like, and I like almost everything. It's only things that take themselves... Like, if this had been a low-budget movie that was just as stupid, I'd have loved it. But when... I don't know what it is, but when it's a big, expensive, proper film, I subconsciously have a different set of standards that it needs to achieve. And I have no patience for big, expensive movies being stupid, because they have no excuse for it. People working on a budget don't have the time, don't have the skill, don't have the money. They just want to make a movie, and they did. Good for them. There is no excuse for any of this stuff.
Especially when the writer has probably been paid $500,000, million to write it.
And there were loads of writers came and went on this as well, and it still feels like a first draft script that doesn't make sense.
Well, this is like the Rapture attack in The Lost World, right? But more hardcore.
With worse CG.
Oh, fuck off. I mean, it's just...
Oh, that's okay. That's pretty gross. Took his jaw out. But again, who was that person? I had no idea who they were. Should I care? No.
I mean, the thing is with Alien is you don't know who the lead character is until, a third of the way to the end.
Yeah.
And with this, we know immediately who the main character is. So there's no kind of like suspense on who's going to survive. We know.
You know that Oram is dying, the Billy Crudup character. There's just no way that guy stays alive.
But again, he has a really kind of like mean, heartless death. Do you know?
Yeah, it's a pretty mean-spirited way for him to go, I suppose. He also does, I think he's a great actor, and I think he does a good performance as this kind of weakling. But they're going on this massive trip across the galaxy. Would you deploy someone who is kind of like that? But he's there because he is religious.
Yeah.
And he's still hanging on to his beliefs. And they don't work within this future, do they? They don't work on this alien planet because he can't. Well, he can't really fit within that.
Yeah.
Doesn't fit within the team.
Because this film has equated religion with joylessness. And it's kind of like that no one's happy, but they're all religious,
So this is it then. So are they all? Is this because I took this, I always assumed that whenever you see a bunch of people in a spaceship headed off somewhere, it's always some kind of, it's always an arc. Yeah, it's always, I forget the actual religion that this is always associated with. But so it's just, some of them just happen to be really religious, but it's not like an Exodus type deal.
No, it's not Exodus type deal. It's Billy. Billy's character. It implies he's the only one who's religious because there was a debate about him actually being on the team.
Yeah. They said that they didn't trust him to be a captain because he's religious, but they did trust him to be second in command, which is generally.
I just assumed they were all religious, and that's why they. Yeah,
I did.
Yeah. Because I don't think religion could essentially work within this future. You know what I mean? Because their beliefs and if it doesn't actually say what religion he is. He a Christian or is he sort of? I don't think it's entirely implied. Maybe I think he believes in a God and so forth. So does that work within this? In the future?
You could argue it works as well within this future as it does within our own reality. At the end of the day, the same questions are going to be.
Yeah, but I suppose it's it's down to David playing as a god and then someone who believes in a god.
Yes, yeah.
That's the connection, right? So, and these guys are all treated as gods, these engineers.
What's Michael Fassbender's character in this film called?
It's Walter and David.
Walter and David. Why is David wearing a hood?
Exactly. So it's nighttime, so he's got to wear nighttime outdoor clothes. He's a robot. He's not going to get cold.
He's also come to sort of meet these people, and he's it's all set up as a mystery for us. But what's he doing? He's putting on a little play for his new visitors.
So for some reason, Ridley Scott obviously just decided that Michael Fassbender in a hood is good. So let's have it all the time. Also, they've just got I'd have a couple of questions if I was one of these people.
He's giving you Basil exposition now, isn't he?
But the first question is something about how do we find our way up to the roof? Not what are the hundreds of fossilized dead bodies out there? Why is there wheat growing on a foreign planet? Why are you here, robot man? Well, none of these things are ever asked. It's just, oh yeah, right, how do we get upstairs?
Well, it's like the script has been, well, the script has been written, and then the art department have created this huge thing around it. And you kind of like go, well, that would affect the way that the characters interact by what they're looking at, you know? But the script isn't allowing for the alien landscape. People are reacting to, you know, it's another small room sequence that is, you know, 3 characters chatting to each other in this huge, lavish set, you know?
I can't remember if it happens at the end or if it happens after I stop watching, but I assume that there is a point when one of these robots pretends to be the other. Because the first thing I thought,
it's the worst switcheroo.
As soon as I saw I remember this in when I first watched the film, when I watched it properly all the way through. As soon as I saw him, like there's going to be a scene any minute of him cutting his hair, and then they're going to be confused for each other.
Well, no, I thought you were referring to later on when David does the switcheroo to make everyone think it's Walter. You know, near the end, you think, oh, Walter's beating up David, he's going to win, and then suddenly this weird abrupt edit, and then David's outside pretending to be Walter to get on board. I don't remember any of that. Oh, like you'll be annoyed when you see it.
Well, hasn't Walter just had his hand melted off, right?
Yeah, been bitten off.
Right, yeah. So he hasn't got a hand, but I feel like David's bleached hair should have been grown out a lot more. He's got almost like blonde hair with some roots.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Unless he's been bleaching. Oh, he hasn't been bleaching his hair. He was just a head. So I guess the reason he's wearing a hood is because he was just a head at the end of the last movie, and we're meant to go, who's this mysterious figure?
Yeah, or he's concerned about his roots and doesn't want anyone seeing them. It could be that.
Right, yes, absolutely.
It must be difficult getting good quality blonde dye on this planet.
I think I know, guessing when you sort of, you know, the epilogue with Elizabeth Shaw travelling with David across space. Obviously, when David reminisces about how they got there, and you see all the engineers get taken out by the black goo, as it were, that's probably the whole section where they just halved that footage, just released it as a trailer. Because once David, you know, has a flashback and you see all the engineers, all the people, you know, that planet just pointing up and go, "Ooh," and the stuff comes out. All that was in the trailer. You know, you think, well, not much of it is extended within the film. The big piece about seeing how this planet operates and who lives on it is so brief. And you're like, this is what I thought the entire film would be about, these engineers and finding out questions or discovering who they are, where they've been around the universe. And it's none of that is answered.
Yeah, because it's an alien film.
Yeah.
And it's just and they've gone back to the formula of it. Mind you, Prometheus didn't veer that far off the formula of an alien film.
I think but Prometheus did. Prometheus opened the world up and then kind of told a story that was slightly more expanded. This continues to open the world up, but it's focused in on such a narrow, tiny little story and part of it that it's kind of confusing. Like what, I don't want to be in a world that's this extensive and so many things are alluded to, yet we're stuck here looking at this one tiny little thing. Like in Alien, it's just the tiny little thing. That's all we know about.
It feels like there's no plan. You know, or it feels like there was a plan, but then, you know, they had to immediately veer off the plan. With the first film, you know, the plan was to make a film within the Alien universe. I mean, I was up for that. I was totally up for watching a film in the Alien universe that didn't have aliens in it. Absolutely fine. But now, you know, within the end of the first film, they had to kind of introduce the alien elements. And now it's just an alien film again, which is fine. It's called Alien Covenant. But it's not really a sequel to Prometheus. It's just some leftover characters that they're kind of...
Well, suppose something similar happened around this time with The Last Jedi, because...
I was just going to say, how reminiscent is this of the modern the Star Wars?
It's a different scenario, even though the results are kind of the same. Like, Force Awakens was successful, right? they knew, okay, people were excited to see where it goes. Same with Prometheus. But Disney didn't listen to the fan base and go, oh, we need to change things up for Last Jedi. But they let the director do that himself.
Oh, well, there was a lot of talk about, even though The Force Awakens made a lot of money and was popular, there was a lot of talk about how routine it was, how it's just a repeat of the first film, how it doesn't do anything new. So I think there can still be a legitimate reaction to that, even though it made money. I think the Last Jedi, I think they did listen to the fans, to be honest. I think
because I think, but yeah, okay, that's probably a fair argument. But I just didn't see like the complaints about Force Awakens in terms of the sort of the toxic feedback like Prometheus received.
Oh no, I don't think it did. It was generally much better received, but I think there were still a lot of people saying it could have been more imaginative. It could have been.
I remember The Force Awakens. I remember seeing it twice at the cinema. I absolutely loved it, and everyone I saw it with loved it, and all the cinemas I saw it in loved it.
Yeah, me too.
I think The Force Awakens was absolutely fucking great because it was Star Wars. It reset it from the prequels. It felt like you were in a Star Wars universe, and it set up all this stuff for the future. What makes The Force Awakens shit is that nothing it set up paid off, and that it's attached to two other films that are completely confused and they don't gel, and so as a trilogy it doesn't work. And to make episode 8 of a 9-part trilogy Gremlins 2 is fucking nuts, right? And I don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with Luke dying. I don't have a problem with any of the real kind of story or the characters. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with the Last Jedi is the tone of it, right? Where every 10 minutes there's this like fourth wall breaking joke, and it's like, what the fuck is this? I feel like Prometheus took a giant step away from the Alien franchise, and then. This doesn't feel like The Last Jedi in that respect. I think the worst thing about The Last Jedi, this fingering part is fucking ridiculous. I hate this film.
This got a massive laugh in the cinema.
It's going to though, isn't it?
Is it meant to? Is it meant to get a laugh? Is this bit meant to be funny?
Ridley Scott is a very old man.
I think everyone just, when they heard the word fingering, everyone just went.
You do though, don't you? Especially, isn't the line something like "I'll do your fingering" or "I'll do the fingering for you"? So it's even like
it just puts a whole knife through the tone of the movie. Just like cuts it up. Bum bum willy bum.
What I think is a shame as well is that Michael Fassbender is obviously brilliant, and every now and again I look at the screen and it's just him doing a reaction to something, and it's just brilliant.
Even these sequence here, amazingly shot, like having two actors interact. It's incredible.
It is, but I think it's also a bit of a shame because he's not got anyone to work off, has he? So I don't think the scenes of Michael and Walter together are the best. I think they're the weaker of the Michael Fassbender scenes in these two movies to me, and I'm wondering if it's because he's acting on his own in them. Effectively, he's acting against a blue screen or whatever it is.
Just a double,
Yeah, double it'll be, won't it? But yeah.
But I think there's motion control. I think for those two, as the camera moves.
Yeah, Scott was talking about how he had a big robot camera for the scenes they shared together to repeat the moves exactly. God, fucking crap.
Maybe Prometheus, because this doesn't feel like there's as much love put into this as Prometheus. So maybe, is Prometheus Ridley Scott's last kind of lavish, huge production where he actually cared? Because Napoleon was like, there's a bit at the beginning of Napoleon where Marie Antoinette is going to the guillotine and she gets she gets rotten vegetables thrown at her, and there's a piece of lettuce that lands in her hair that is perfectly rectangularly cut, right? Like it's out of a bag of salad from Marks and Spencer's, right? And you just know that's what they did. The art department went around with bags of salad from wherever supermarket was nearby and gave all the extras, handfuls of lettuce to throw at her. And a bit has landed on her wig where it's just like, that's from a fucking shop from 2023, or 2024, whenever it was made. and that's like the Gladiator 2 syndrome, where he's kind of like setting up cameras and just letting them film.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, who throws lettuce? They blatantly went looking for tomatoes, couldn't get any, so bought a bag of salad instead.
I don't
Like
see
bloody Brexit.
Who throws small pieces of lettuce at people
Who throws a shoe?
I don't think that you're going to give 1,000 extras a tomato each to throw at an actress playing Marie Antoinette, right?
Sam Raimi would have done.
I think lettuce is fine. Yeah, right. Okay, Sam Raimi.
See, look at this. Okay, look. Okay, what I think I said in my retrospectives, like the architecture of the city does not match the architecture and design of the ship. Why would it be so radically different in terms of design?
Well, these aren't the engineers, are they?
Well, yeah, no, they're not. They're not. They're part of the same race.
I think, aren't the engineers their gods?
Yeah. So basically, the film isn't really very well explained. So what is explained is, I think, the making of book is that Ridley had said in later interviews that the engineers have been creating worlds and civilizations on different other planets, right? So this isn't their home world. This is a place where they go to as a stop off. So once this film kind of finishes, if there was a potential for a third one, those engineers will come back here and find out what's happened, and then they go track down David. Because they're not. Because you think, okay, they just wiped out the whole civilization of these engineers who created this ship and whatever. That's not the case. But it's just not well explained. You're just seeing people get killed off.
I'd have watched this film. This film doesn't look like it's Alien, right? It doesn't look like it's Alien. It doesn't look like it looks like it's a different storyline. And it's a flashback sequence. It's just like, this could have been the film, you know?
Yeah.
Why? So David's got a body now.
Well, yeah, because that epilogue showed Elizabeth Shaw
giving him a new body.
Yeah, and basically sewing his body back onto it. His head back onto his body.
Yeah.
That's not.
It's not in the film, is it?
It's not in the film. Yeah, just released as a trailer.
Yeah. And I remember that shot of the spaceship opening and David standing up there with the wind in his hair from the trailer. And it's kind of like, yeah, absolutely, let's watch that film.
Yeah. That's why I was so excited.
I still wasn't excited about this film, I have to say. I was still kind of... There was the poster with all of the aliens. It was like a grey poster, and it was sort of like there were all of these aliens that were in kind of like this pile on the poster. And I was just thinking, I don't even want to watch that film.
It was supposed to be called Paradise Lost. And they kept changing the title and went to Covenant. I went, what does Covenant? What's that mean?
And also, I cannot remember. I can never remember the name of this film. I call it Alien Constituents, Alien Contemporaries, Alien. For some reason, I can never remember the name Covenant. And like you say, yeah, like in relation to this movie, what does it actually mean? How does a covenant relate to this?
What is a covenant?
It's like an agreement, isn't it? I think like an official. Drawn up document laying out what two parties owe to each other or have to do for each other or whatever.
Well, that's like this David scene right here. What are they going to do for each other? Are they in a covenant?
It's a strange way to apply that word to this scenario, but maybe. Yeah,
clutching at straws, just clutching at straws.
I think Scott just thought that sounds like a cool name. He was originally also going to have Jesus in this movie, so I think all bets were off, really.
Yeah, covenant in a religious context means a sacred agreement between God and humanity.
Right, yeah. Well, there you go,
Oh, I swear. Oh, okay, right.
So absolutely knocks it out of the park, that title, actually.
But what is their agreement? Okay, so it's about the relationship between gods and their underlings.
Well, nothing's been signed.
But what's the agreement they've come? What's the covenant itself? What is it?
The agreement is that we have created David, right? And the agreement is that he's in servitude of us, but he has become his own god, and he is out. He has broken the contract with us. Where he is now, is it? It's just the stuff that you
seems
can piece
weak to
together
me,
yourself.
but I've already made my mind up that everything is wrong in this film. So you don't listen to me.
I mean, you say that you can't remember the title for this film. I just never think about this film unless I'm switching over on TV.
No, I don't. It's just recently, obviously, we've been talking about it because we've had this commentary coming up.
And the most I've ever thought about it is over the last 3 weeks when I've been thinking, oh, I don't want to do this fucking commentary. I mean, I don't have loads to say about it, you know? And I don't think there is a lot to say about it.
No, I don't think there is really. Once you've complained about everything, it's just kind of, it's there, isn't it? It's just there happening.
This doesn't scare me. That's not, you know.
Oh, that's like some sort of clickbait YouTube thumbnail monster, that one there.
One of Ridley's kind of things was that he was like saying, well, we've seen enough of the alien, so you can't make the alien scary anymore, which is why you see it in broad daylight at the end of this. And it's kind of like, again, that's your job to make the alien scary, you know? You've decided to put it in the film, so now you've got to fucking make it work.
You've already invented a set of rules that allow you to make it look any way you want it to, basically. You can give it any reproductive cycle you want now, because there just is no law anymore to how the xenomorph family of animals reproduce and so on. And yeah, they still can't do it. I hope there aren't people listening to this who really like this film, because I'd be really irritated with us if I was one of them.
I think there are people that do generally like it. I think down to certain different aspects of it, though. But I think most people are fully aware of its faults, and I think that was evident with sort of feedback on my retrospective, because there's a lot of potential in this movie, and there's some interesting ideas, and this, you know, and you've got a sort of a good cast, but they just don't have the dialogue really there to sort of flesh them out and to feel sort of passionate about their characters.
No bad actors in it, are there?
Ridley's always good at choosing people. I think he's always kind of learned that skill where you get an actor, he doesn't have to give him much direction, just goes, just do it. You know what I mean? That was the issue with Harrison Ford, wasn't he? Because he was cushioned and gave him a lot of, you know, help from Spielberg, and he worked with Coppola and Lucas, of course. I mean, Lucas isn't really one to give you much direction, is he? But he was in that sort of circle, and when with Blade Runner, Ridley's like, well, here's your lines, do the job, and he's just like, well, he wanted more direction. He says, that's not my, my concern is how the film looks. So that kind of rubbed, you know, them two up the wrong way. But in the case of this, I think the actors are fully aware what they're getting in for. Because I shot this in Australia, you've got to make use of local talent. I think there's a mix of Australian actors in here, and the ones you could bring over. Also, union rules all apply, isn't it?
Oh, I do remember this being really striking. I love the scream. Is that this bit where David lets out that Fassbender when the monster's killed and he's just horrified by it? I did think when I watched this back, try and look closely and see if there's any kind of CG augmentation going on in his face. He's good, isn't he? He's good, that Fassbender.
It's showing his human side, isn't it, I suppose?
He really cared about that big lump of CG.
You see him, he flinched then as well when he fired the last bullet.
Yeah, he's totally shocked. He's such a good actor.
Yeah, he was also firing blanks, right? You would flinch at a gunshot.
Very true, especially if you can't see it coming.
Maybe it's the lack of acting.
But they didn't have to show that reaction, though, Nick.
No, they didn't have to. They didn't have to make this film either, did they? I think the fact that this film exists means that people have to have an opinion on it, right? But if this film didn't exist, there would be no fans. I don't think fans were sort of like conjuring this movie into existence by thinking this would be this is just sort of like a non-movie. It's like, ugh.
Do you think it's would you say Resurrection's worse than this, or would you rather watch Resurrection?
I'd rather watch Resurrection. I think Resurrection has like a sense of fun to it that this doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of fun to be had with Resurrection, even though it's rubbish. There's plenty that's entertaining and enjoyable about it.
It still has its slight French wackiness to it, isn't it?
Yeah, I could happily never watch Resurrection again, and I don't. But if it's on TV, I'll give it a go. But I would never sit down to deliberately watch it.
I'd rather watch AVP Requiem again than this, to be honest.
No, I can't.
That was my least favourite movie that we've ever done a commentary on until this.
This film is absolutely pointless, right? Because as of 2025, there is no sequel to it, and it doesn't pick up from the last film very well. So it's kind of like this film which it's not a very good sequel, and it doesn't set anything else up.
Yeah, it's kind of it's undone more than it's done, in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the problem being is, why would they go out to make a sequel and introduce a whole new set of characters when a sequel inherently is always continuing on with a set of characters? Even though in a situation with Prometheus it only had 2, but they take out one of the main characters straight away. And it's like, okay, where are you going to go with these characters? If you sat there with Ridley and go, okay, right, this is your idea, this is your pitch. So Fox, it's all about making money, so we want to make another sequel. Where are you going to go with this? We'll introduce another set of characters. Go, well, what's going on here?
Do you know what does that? Is the Friday the 13th franchise, where you get a new set of characters every, and now it's a slasher movie.
You say characters, but you mean warm bodies, really.
So is this, falling into the tropes of horror and not actually, we don't have to worry about continuity or continuing on a narrative. We just do something completely different for a sequel.
What they've done, right, is they've, let's just say, Alien, the Alien franchise is yellow paint, right? And they're painting a house with yellow paint, right? And then the Prometheus franchise is blue paint, right? And they've dipped the yellow brush into the blue paint, and now they've tried to go back to make an Alien film, but everything is green now. It's been tainted by Prometheus, and they've tried to take a massive step back to reset it to what it kind of was, but they have to include all this Prometheus stuff with it, so it's not an Alien film, and it's not a Prometheus film.
That's a good analogy. I think it's even more confused than that in a way, because it's both trying to be like highbrow and intelligent and say something about the human condition, but it's also trying to be a schlocky horror movie with like hardcore gore and undeveloped characters and all that stuff. It's trying to be everything to everyone, isn't it? So it's like to continue your analogy, it's like Ridley Scott is now trying to paint with green paint, only he's using a biro instead of a paintbrush.
Sure. Why would David invent face huggers?
How did he get to the egg? How did he? It's chicken or the egg, isn't it? How did he create the egg?
Exactly. Yeah, he needs a constant supply. I was wondering this, and I get the mythology wrong all the time, so do correct me. But I thought this whole reproductive system that he's developing requires living bodies. Yeah, like how is he gestated these? Where have these eggs come from? Yeah, chicken or egg is the...
If you've taken away the queen, which clearly Ridley's not keen on, because I think we discussed this maybe back in Aliens commentary, Rob. It's like Ridley had his own life cycle created for Alien, which was then a deleted scene that would come back into the director's cut, where it basically, I don't know what the alien does, is just dribbles on their victims and they form this egg shape. They're kind of cocooned into something. It kind of made sense that it was having a queen, it kind of the insect type thing, like a beehive or whatever, or ant farm. It kind of, I suppose, made a bit more logical sense. Once you take away the queen, which they did with this, it's like that left everyone scratching their heads going, well, how did he create the eggs?
Wasn't he trying to create a queen out of shore? Isn't that why she's sort of like spread out like that?
Another theory is because he could have, when at the end where David hid the embryos inside him and he goes, whoop, and, coughs them up. They could be essentially the super face huggers you find in Alien 3 that impregnates Ripley, who has the queen inside her, right? So there's super face huggers that make the queens. That would be like at the end of the film, the third film, they actually go to this planet, all those human people as sacrifices to, or for the face huggers, and then they make this alien planet. Could that be the alien planet where they actually were intending to go to in the first place, and David corrupts all of that by having them all infected?
Why does anyone need to make an alien planet? Why can't there just be an alien planet?
Yeah. Well, there was. I think the ideas for the potential sequels, like Rennie Harlin wanted to do that, go to the alien homeworld. I think David Garlow had also talked about that, but it was the cost of it was so expensive. I thought, well, we can't do that. So how this has happened here is like, well, there is no alien planet because he's created the alien here.
Yeah.
But so the third one would have to be where this whole
right, sure. That's a what if.
That would be the third one.
But I mean, God,
that's all a hot take.
It's easier to understand causality in time travel movies than it is the alien mythology. I think I need a whiteboard by it, to be honest,
and to sort of draw it all out and sort of say, we're here, we're going here, this is what's going to happen.
The great thing about Aliens and the Alien Queen is that it makes sense of what you've had in Alien, right? Where you have an egg which makes a face hugger, which implants the embryo, and then whatever is whatever the embryo goes inside, the alien has characteristics of that thing, right? And that kind of makes sense. And then you kind of like go, right, okay, well then you need a queen to lay the eggs, right? So it's like ants or it's like bees, right? This is such a horrible death for this guy.
You see, it's a good acting from him now.
Oh, Billy Crudup is brilliant, and I think he's too likeable for this character.
Oh, it's not a problem I have with Billy Crudup.
Oh, really?
But also here, this changes, doesn't it? Because the alien used to come out, it'd be this kind of penis thing, and it will scurry around for a while, then it'll get bigger. But now it comes out, it's fully formed, it's a rod puppet.
Yeah.
It goes,
no
hello!
two chest bursters. No two chest bursters have ever been the same, ever.
And what, because
the music, this, even though it's changed everything, I think it's still a brilliant sequence where he does that and he copies him. The music there is incredible, I think.
But why has he chosen to do this?
Sorry?
Why has he chosen to do this? We don't have any information about why it's happening, you know? We it's sort of like, yeah, and he's inventing it, so it's all a bit different from what you normally get. And it's like, oh, right, okay.
It's still part of his experiment, though, is he? Still part of his experiment, isn't it?
But that's as deep as it gets, right? See, look, she's all kind of, ugh.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And it's all that is very Giger-esque, like from the books or sort of thing, isn't it? Sort of twisted, fucked up.
I mean, he's
shit.
gone back to the books, hasn't he?
The designers were saying that actually that they actually looked more at Necronomicon and Giger's books than they did the original movie.
Yeah, because there's featurette on them, isn't there?
These experiments are only here to spark off our imagination again. They're not there to give you any explanation of what's going on. And it's so niche and specific, the kind of stuff that they're alluding to, that you kind of like go, no, if he's a Frankenstein character, we understood what Frankenstein was doing. You know, he was grave robbing and he was stitching things together and he was using electricity, and we get it. But what the fuck is David doing?
What's his motivation? Yeah.
What's his motivation, and what the fuck is he doing?
His motivation is to create, because he can't create himself, right? But we don't know to what end he wants to create. He wants to create a person or something like that. But he never saw the Deacon at the end of Prometheus, so he doesn't know really what the potential of this stuff is. He's just messed around trying to create different things, and then the ultimate form he's created is the xenomorph. But does he know what it would actually look like at the end? I don't know.
And also, if he's an android, wouldn't he be a lot more accurate at what he's doing? He's like sort of like fucking around like a human in a garage.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. The film sort of highlights, because he's been on his own for 10 years, he's all gone a bit weird, hasn't he? He hasn't had a system reboot or like.
I don't care. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's a bullshit thing that they invented so they didn't have to come up with a fucking explanation. I hate this.
But also, fine, his motivation is to create because he can't create, but why does he want to? Why should a robot why should a robot's sole objective be to create organic life, unless it's been programmed to do that? Why did he just decide, well, this is my mission in the world?
Well, yeah, because he didn't have the limitations, did he? I think we had discussed in Prometheus that he didn't have the sort of system, like barriers that Walter has.
Okay, so then maybe there's no obvious reason why he should be prevented from doing this. But again, what makes him decide I'm going to dedicate my existence to creating organic life? Is there something that I've missed, or
it's kind of like Wayland and him at the beginning talk about the gods and creation. So it's kind of like he would never create. So this is him trying to live up to his father, which is Wayland. This whole discussion here between him and Walso is about like, well, you were too. They basically made us a lot more simple because you were too human, and it creeped people out. And that's what happens. This whole film, Walt David is creepy as fuck, and he can't be trusted. But the thing is, we don't know what's going on in his head half the time. That's the thing. And you were saying like earlier on, like, what is his motivation other than just the fact that he wants to kind of create, but he doesn't know what he's actually creating at the end. Doesn't seem to imply that.
If he'd been programmed to do this, then there wouldn't be a problem. There wouldn't be a question. It would just be, yeah, that's what he's been programmed to do. But to my knowledge, he wasn't. But or maybe he was. I don't know.
That part there, you know, when he stabbed Walter and he went up to, like, his whole face sort of eyes went white.
Really
that
cool.
gave me a massive fright in the cinema. The sound, man.
It's quite freaky, isn't it? There's something really odd about it.
And they brought over the white eyes, haven't they, for like Romulus, where the android's eyes go white when he reboots, or
Right.
like I think in the new Predator film that's coming out, there's also another Wayland android whose eyes go white. Same universe, people. Also, did you see the new Predator trailer where they've got that trophy room with all the skulls, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right, and there's a alien head from Independence Day as a nod. Yeah, so that's kind of connected now.
Is you sure it's not an alien queen?
No, it's definitely an alien from.
They're very similar, aren't they?
Yeah, it's that weird kind of like disc-shaped head, isn't it? And I think there's like a T-Rex head, but maybe there should be an ET head, I suppose, as well. That'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Fuck you, E.T.
Just a big long finger there as well. You know?
Do the predators hunt the ETs? Because it wouldn't be much of a prize, would it?
A bad death for the E.T.s. Yeah.
I think any other aliens that would quite work. Mac and me. Mac and me.
Chewbacca's head, if you want to upset a load of kids.
Some of the fur's still connected, you know, to
it. Yes.
I'll be like, that's a fucking massive spider, get out of here.
Why would he think, you know, what I was saying about the alien, you know, cycle,
Yeah.
is that why would David think to create an egg that became a face hugger, that became a thing, that became a thing, that became a thing? Why would he do that? Why wouldn't he just cut to the chase?
Yeah. So yeah.
Why wouldn't he just make the alien? Why is he creating this whole like life cycle thing?
He must have had the whole mythology explained to him, and therefore, oh shit, right. So if I just make it really complicated and nonsensical, it's bound to fit in.
But again, it falls into the thing like, has it been created before? Because obviously, you know, the mural in Prometheus. But again, that's all just kind of visual stuff, but it's never explained. And so it all falls down to visual imagery that needs a backstory.
Yeah.
And it gets so muddled up and confused because it's either one person's like idea that then gets kind of shifted to be someone else's idea. It all kind of just gets a muddled narrative.
It's like they're both very kind of shallow films that are going like, yeah, but we're thinking about some pretty big things, guys. And you kind of, well, what are those things? And they're kind of like, oh, you'll see. And then it just doesn't pay off. You know, I said it about Prometheus. All the art department and all of the thoughts that they've put into it is just backdressing. You know, it's set dressing in the background, and the actual meat and potatoes of it is just kind of like idiots getting killed one by one.
I wonder how much of the confusion comes down to the fact that these big franchises are worth a lot of money to studios, aren't they? They protect them. And studios generally have never really understood genre movies. So they've got a weird scenario where they've got something they don't really understand, but they do know it's worth a fortune to them, and they're really keen to protect it. And so it ends up in the hands of all these different people, and all these different things get added, and then something will happen that the studio doesn't like, and it'll be moved on to the next person. And the fact is, no one really quite understands what it is anymore, this franchise. I wonder if that's kind of what it comes down to.
These films would have been better as their own thing, you know, and that would have been absolutely fun. You could still make Alien films as well, you know. I think the problem here as well is, like, you know, you've got an upgraded android that still looks like Michael Fassbender. You know, we've had Ian Holm, and we've had Lance Henriksen, and we've had, you know, other androids in the franchise, and this boils down to the fact that Ridley Scott fucking loved working with Michael Fassbender in the first one, and he just wanted to work with Michael Fassbender a bit more in this one.
What they should have done is have David here on this planet played by Lance Henriksen, and Walter played by Michael Fassbender, because then you could have said, well, he's aged into the other common Wayland android, and then you've got someone to act against, and you've got Lance Henriksen in the movie.
See, this bit here, right? Walter's winning, right? He's beating the shit out of David, and then it's going to cut away. Obviously, you see David's about to grab something there, and then the knife, and then it abruptly cuts to him on camera looking back, like he's at the place he just left, and like you clearly knew it's a massive. Ridley's trying to trick the audience, but it doesn't fucking work at all. No,
it's really weird, isn't it? It's like the film language on display there is a bit dense, because it's like, who's the only point of doing something like that is to make it a red herring and then not switch them, because it's so telegraphed that that's what's going to happen.
Well, it's a trope that he's literally kind of not been able to pull off.
Yeah,
we've seen it before, and he hasn't managed it.
That looks like Naboo, just like after an apocalypse or something darker. And
it's Naboo during the autumn.
It does look like that, but also we've got half an hour of the film left. We've got 29 minutes of the film left, and
the aliens are going to appear now,
and they're going to make it an alien film, right?
It's probably actually about 15 minutes. I imagine the credits will be a good quarter of an hour for this movie, given all the visual effects.
If you think about it, right, chaps, I think you're both right about the sort of the major issues with the story. Like, okay, we literally half an hour left, and what has the film actually told us in that runtime? That 90 minutes, nothing much has really been unfolded at all. It's been people being clumsy and stupid. David basically saying, "Oh, this is what I've created. This is what I've drawn," and then that's kind of it.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird, isn't it? You know,
all I've learnt is David has been monkeying about with genetics, and all the humans deserve to die. There's nothing else I've learnt.
It's weird. It's not been a slog though of 90 minutes of like you sit there looking at your watch. I don't think, but
God,
you think so? Okay, fine.
I checked the time in 5 times. I didn't do that with any of the other commentaries. I can't believe there's still half an hour left.
I don't mind watching it now while we're talking bollocks about it, but when I watched it on my own, or 3/4 of it on my own the other week, it was, and I told you, it took me about 4 goes to get to about here. This is about as far as I managed to get.
Okay.
This was a real rig, wasn't it? They actually built this full size and had 6-point tilting hydraulics and stuff. I mean, the money that got spent on it, considering how small it kind of is in a way. That's certainly how laser focused it is on a small area and a small cast. It's a very expensive movie.
It's all nicely shot as well. You know, it does. You're not watching it getting confused. What's happening? Like what the geography of the whole edit? It's really nicely done.
Yeah.
What what was the budget of this?
Oh, I saw 120 something.
No, I'm sure it's. No, I think that was a bit more than that, man. That's for meters. I think it's. Oh yeah, so yeah, okay, so yeah. Sorry, I do. You're correct. It's cost over 100 million to make. So it made 240. So it was basically a bomb for Fox because that was it. Because I remember once the reviews had came out and then negativity started the internet basically killed it. I think really,
What,
word
this?
of mouth. Yeah, the internet basically, like, everyone decided it was bad. No, bad word of mouth spreads really quickly, and the numbers just dropped off. And so any prospect of Ridley, I think during the interview process before it was released, like the whole press junket talking about ideas for a third one, they all basically all shoved into the bin because Fox were like, no, or Disney at this point, we're not going to continue on. And I think that's why we had a big gap again between this and Romulus.
How the fuck did she catch it in that fucking jaw? Like,
It's so stupid, all this stuff. And
why isn't she? Oh, come on!
Swinging around by those massive jet things as well. It's just.
She's landed on the only... do you know what I mean? It's like, it was miles away from her. Oh, no, this is just awful. It's just awful. I hate the design of the alien.
Surely she should have got sprayed with acid then. Some of it, just a little bit.
Like something must have killed her by this point. It's ridiculous. Either gravity, the massive jet thing she keeps swinging under.
That would have broke her back, I think.
She would have been incinerated... Yeah,
every bone in her body has been smashed to pieces too. I blame Marvel for all this stuff. This is the Avengers' fault.
I love this. This commentary is mostly huffing and puffing. The Huffing and Puffing Hour with Rob Hill and Nick Helm.
It's just crap, isn't it?
Who's he?
Isn't he the...
Oh, the guy with the burnt face, I know. Yeah.
Isn't he the captain? Isn't he the main captain?
He was like...
No, that's someone else.
That was the gay couple, wasn't it? That were on the...
There's a gay couple?
Yeah, on the ship, yeah. Because his partner died when he had the alien come out of his mouth.
Oh, right.
I mean, his hair is different. It's choppier. It's choppier than, you know.
Well, look, his hair's all brown. It's not blonde anymore. Or did he? Oh no, because he chopped it. Okay, yeah, he chopped out the extensions, so he looked like Walter. It looked like Walter, didn't he?
It didn't look exactly like Walter. It looked like he'd cut his own hair.
Yeah, with a sharpened rock, because that's what he'd done. It's not now perfectly Hollywood bouffant. Oh, these are weird things as well.
Oh yeah, these like kind of frozen peas they put on and they melt.
It's like an idea that sounded good, but the executed just doesn't quite work in real life.
It becomes Clayface from a Robocop TV show.
It's a background detail, but he's made a film about background details without explaining much. Well, like, it's...
Can't believe it's not butter. Here we go.
The special effects are fine. The acting is good. The actors are good. The special effects are good.
It is a good. Most of the problem is just the character design. It's the way that all these characters are like they've all been told three things or whatever about you. This is the kind of person you are, and they're all stupid. It's all just like Danny McBride, if I remember right, he spends half the fucking film trying to land on the planet or just get closer to the planet because he's worried about his wife. It's like, you're a professional spaceship captain responsible for the lives of hundreds of people, and your wife's dead now, mate, anyway. Like, they wouldn't react like that in real life.
Do you think it's just like people are put under stress and they do stupid things?
No, I tell you what, have you seen the theory, the internet theory as to why everyone's so thick in this movie? It's even stupider than the film, but I've got a horrible feeling Ridley Scott's endorsed it. The theory is that because this is like a colony mission, they've deliberately chosen people who are thick and stupid to make it easier to keep them like under the thumb, and there wouldn't be an insurrection or a rebellion or anything like that. So therefore, everyone has to be thick. Like, that's an actual theory.
No, that's not true, is it? But what I would say that on paper the characters are paper thin, and then it's the actors' jobs
to create a backstory.
To create a backstory, and they're all obviously doing the best they can with something that's really flimsy.
Yeah, they can only say the lines they're given. They can only play the scenes they're in.
I mean, you're like saying Space Cowboy is a boring kind of trope. It's a cliche. But like, if Danny McBride bought the hat with him, it's like, well done, Danny McBride, for creating something. Do you know what I mean?
That was Ridley Scott because of the Slim Pickens connection. Because Slim Pickens wears a cowboy hat in that. But like, George Peppard wears a cowboy hat as well in Battle Beyond the Stars, and it's that I think of before I think of Doctor Strangelove.
Sure, I just like Danny McBride in this. All right, guys. He's the best thing in this film, right?
Fassbender.
It'd be like casting you, Nick, and put you in a film and go, yeah, we're not going to have you be funny.
I would absolutely be up for that. I'm a legitimate actor. I can do straight. I think. I mean, this is all like 2001 imagery as well, isn't it? Now.
Yeah, it has got quite different, isn't it? The design of the ship to the previous ones in this series. But all the ships have a different purpose, though, don't they? They're all built by different companies to do different things, so I guess that's all right.
Yeah, because Danny McBride doesn't die, does he? He does survive, but he's put into stasis with her, and she's the only one who figures out at the end that it's David, not Walter. Who's... Oh, okay. This bit coming up, the shower scene, right? Classic horror trope, right?
Have we not had the shower scene yet? Oh, God, this is...
But there's one bit in the shower scene. It's literally just a side profile of the alien's head, and before it fires its mouth out, it's a beautiful composition. If you pause it in certain moments, it's just like stunning visuals. But
God bless you, Oliver. Well done. I mean, you're really searching for it, aren't you?
You can find a positive in anything.
I can.
I can't believe there's a shower scene as well, right?
My God, I don't remember this.
It's 20 minutes before the end of the film. Like you said, it's probably got 10 minutes of credits, right? So it's 10 minutes before the end of the film.
What the fuck?
Is this Jesse Smollett? Does he get killed in the shower? Oh my God, it's an iconic sequence.
How can anyone be horny right at this moment in time?
Well, I am.
Oh God, this is fucking awful. It's just become another horror series now. Then is it? It's just another instalment in a series of horror movies.
It's Friday the 13th.
Jeez, I don't think they'd even have the nerve to put a shower scene like that in a Friday the 13th movie nowadays. It's just too played out.
What this is it's Jason X, right?
Yes. Jason X, but not as good.
Oh, Jason, that was so funny watching that film.
I love Jason X.
I went
think
through
it's
that
great.
was the most enjoyable one out of the bunch because
Easily the best Friday the 13th.
I went through all of them, and I most of them were pretty bad.
I like every single Friday the 13th film.
Do you?
And I can tell you what's different about all of them.
I can do that, but
I was expecting it to be more repetitive than it was. I thought the Final Destination films were repetitive. I like the Friday the 13th films.
Oh no, yeah, Friday the 13th is like every movie's like got a completely different like attitude, sense of humour, vibe, cast. I mean, it manages to have the only recurring character in the series is never played by the same actor twice, apart from Jason. I mean, what's his name? The main one from Six, the one who brings Jason back to life by accident when he's lightninged.
What's his name? Tommy
Jarvis. That's it.
Tommy Jarvis.
Yeah, I think it was Corey Feldman originally, wasn't it?
It was Corey Feldman, then another guy, and then another guy.
Friday the 13th, so all like you watch them for the kills, but all the kills have been butchered by the MPAA. So the theatrical cuts are all just like really just.
Most of them are okay now. I think a lot of the footage is back into. There's one. Is it 7? There's one where it's just like horrendous, the butchering.
The best killing was when it's the people in the sleeping bags against the tree.
Definitely.
That is the best death ever. Fucking love it.
The rule with Friday the 13th is the same as Star Trek, that even-numbered movies are pretty good.
No, they're all good. They are all good.
What do you think about the alien having a POV? Because they do it in Alien 3 with this kind of distorted lens.
Alien 3 is... the POV in Alien 3 isn't that great. It feels like a cost-cutting device, you know?
In this, though, they've given it a vision which is kind of like weird.
Is that what it sees? Is that how it
I
sees?
think it's supposed to be what it sees, but I thought they were kind of. I always perceived them as that they were kind of blind, but they kind of used their senses to get around.
Well, they don't have eyes.
They've got a human skull underneath their dome.
Yeah, but there's no. Yeah, I know. The first one has a human skull, but the other ones don't because they just changed the design, didn't they? So I always felt slightly baffling.
It doesn't make a lot of conceptual sense, does it? Because it's not a character we're being asked to relate to, and it's not a point of view that makes any real sense for us to see.
Yeah, it's just like that was like fan banter back in the 90s. But the aliens were blind, right? So you got to they got to use their senses and shit.
Well, we never were told that. We were never told that.
No. And it's like you play the video games. It's kind of this like Alien vs Predator, the first one on the PC. I think not the Jaguar game, but you had this kind of weird like fish-eyed lens kind of look to it. It's all black and white. What they see, that was kind of it.
Presumably they use some kind of like spatial echolocation or something like that. It's normally what animals do. Don't have eyes, isn't it?
All the alien sees is loads of eye floaters.
Yeah. So if you wanted to show their point of view shot, I'd have thought it would make more sense to do it like almost like a stick figure, some kind of weird different imaging. Like the Predator has, when we see what the Predator can see, we see it in infrared because the Predator uses infrared to see. So,
yeah.
Well, they've just put a filter on. It feels like they put a filter on.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
oh, of course it ends here, doesn't it?
they've condensed Alien, him going around the spaceship killing things, into 10 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's kind of like, you would never guess that that's how that film that we've just watched would end.
Yeah. It's almost like Ridley Scott spent an hour and a half doing what he wanted to do and then went, oh, I'll do this for the fans.
This is his concession at the end. This is for the 20th Century Fox and for the fans. He's gone, right, yeah, here's your Alien movie.
Yeah, pretty much, I think so.
Another fucking airlock. Jesus Christ.
So when you see the airlock stuff, you get the weird particles you see, right? It's like, you think, when I first watched this, I thought maybe they had sort of designed this for 3D, because this is kind of the stuff that would work really well in 3D, right? But it's not, but it all looks great, you know what I mean? It's just like the effects guys have done an amazing job. It's all lit well. But again, it's again, what Nick said, another airlock scene. Why didn't it have this battle on the planet with the alien, and then maybe as they're trying to escape or running through all the complex, there's like the entire time David's had like an engineer locked up in like a prison and they free him and he sort of battles with it like that would be good. I'd have to watch that again.
Anything that isn't how do we flush it into space.
But why have they reverted back to just having one alien,
Well, we've had two, haven't we, so far?
Well, yeah, but you could have hundreds, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Bring out the pulse rifles, Nick.
It's the perfect bioorganism, the alien, invulnerable to everything except women with dark hair. That's no defense against them whatsoever.
That's the weakness on a trump card, isn't it? Top trumps, for a xenomorph.
I mean, what is a surprise is that Danny McBride has made it.
Yeah.
Now we get a sequel. Woman and Cowboy Hat, the movie.
It's not technically an airlock, is it? It's they're in the atmosphere and they've opened it and the thing is sort of
they flushed it out into space, which
the tractor fell out.
Well, then Romulus does the same thing as well, doesn't it? It's sort of
but why? Do you know what I love about Alien movies? That airlock thing at the end. Do you know what I mean?
As an airlock enthusiast, it's one of my favourite series.
Absolutely brilliant. There's a lot to trudge through.
Aliens does it. Alien Resurrection does it.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
It rhymes, yeah. There you go. We're going full Lucas on this, Bob.
In space, no one can think of any new ideas.
Yeah, pretty much.
No one can hear you dream.
This, I mean, but as an ending, I think this is This is a great ending.
I remember this.
Yeah, it's a great fuck you ending.
It is. It's really good, isn't it? I remember this now. Doesn't he just like sort of smile? But it's too late.
She says about the log cabin, which she mentioned to Walter, and he's like, he doesn't know what she's talking about, and then he smiles, and she's like, David? Trapped in. It's good. It's a good look from Fassbender. Good acting. Come on, Fassbender, act.
We know that they can't be opened again, especially not if they're on fire. Oh, this is brilliant. This is a really good moment. I've got my subtitles on and it just says, gasps softly. Well, that makes it all worthwhile.
And he's got all those other people all in stasis, basically to experiment on or to create more aliens. And then they'll just kill him, wouldn't they? I don't know.
But you know the bit at the end of Saw when Tobin Bell gets up at the end and he pulls the mask off and it's the big reveal and you're like, oh my God, he was there the whole time, you know?
Yeah, worked, didn't it?
This Walter reveal, this Walter David reveal is like, oh. Do you know what I mean? Because they introduced that concept so late in the film and it was so obvious it was a switcheroo, it's kind of like loses the weight for the audience.
Totally,
do you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I had in the cinema. I do like the ending. I think it's a good way to end it. It's nothing, and it's not a happy ending. It's a downer ending. But because, as I mentioned earlier on, that abrupt edit, and you see as Ridley deploys the switcheroo, it was so like obvious. And I was like, well, the audience know, which is annoying now, because the characters don't know. So all we're waiting around for is the characters to play catch up.
Yeah,
that's the frustrating thing. So that's an editing issue, I think.
It's a good ending stuck on the end of a bad film.
yeah. It's. I think it's kind of distracting as well because it's telegraphed so much. I spent the whole time wondering: am I meant to know? Is it meant to be obvious that they've switched, or is it meant to not be obvious they've switched, or is it going to be a red herring and actually they haven't switched? And in the end, it's the only wrong answer, which is, yep, they have switched, and there's no other angle here. It's just really badly done.
Well, that's the way you can get out of a defence if Ridley Scott has said, oh no, it's supposed to be on purpose. The audience is supposed to know. And you go, well...
Why?
Why? Well...
If you're not going to then do the switcheroo and have them not have switched, then why do you want the audience to think that they have switched? This is lovely. The entry of the gods into Valhalla as well is just brilliant.
Yeah, it's good. So, the pluses of this movie and the minuses. So, pluses. Production design is great. Great score.
The sets are great.
It's great, yeah. Great visual effects. A couple of, CG moments where you think, it could have been a little bit better, but fuck it. It still kind of works.
The CG like environments and sets I thought were very good. I thought they were much better than the actual creatures. The creatures I'm not so sure about. But
I think 90% kind of work.
I think the scenery it's all well made. It's just really kind of ugly to look at as well, though, right?
It's very samey.
It's just just a weird. It still puzzles me why Ridley went this direction. It didn't. We all expected to get some answers to what Prometheus had set up. But again, that's that Damon Lindelof kind of problem, of Prometheus, setting up these things but no answer. And then again, we still get no answer. I mean, we spent 90 minutes not really getting any answers to anything, and then just getting the first film condensed to 30 minutes. But I've watched this film maybe about 5 or 6 times, and I think I've kind of not warmed to it, but I find it less problematic than I did when I originally saw it. You sort of, you always get a bit. It's been 8 years ago this film came out, maybe about 9 years. It's 2017, so yeah, 8 years. So I've kind of I've mellowed a bit to it, but yeah, it is it doesn't deliver on what anyone really wanted, and despite it wanting to deliver on what people wanted.
They made a lot of effort to get nowhere.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you summed up there perfectly.
And it's like, I don't ever need to see this film again. I don't really like this film. It doesn't add anything. I feel that if I missed it, it doesn't give me anything that I need to make the other films better. I just think it's...
Do you think the Prometheus bit in Romulus was just basically their way of putting an end to the Prometheus storyline?
I think it works really well in Romulus because it means that I think this is, I mean, it makes sense of Prometheus and by default this, but I think that I don't have any nostalgia for this. I have nostalgia for Prometheus in a bit, and when they bring it back into Romulus, you kind of like go good because you haven't just thrown it out like this film didn't have the courage of its convictions and it threw out a lot of stuff just to please other people.
Yeah,
and with Romulus, they've included that and they've gone, that film that didn't quite work, it's not worthless and it's still part of this universe, and we're going to try and make it work within this universe, which is what this film didn't do. It didn't try and make it. It doesn't work. What it is it's a very simple slasher movie that has been churched up with all of this fucking religious stuff and some
ideas of creationism as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it brings up in these huge kind of like huge concepts, and it's just set decoration for this slasher film, and then a 10-minute remake of Alien, and it just doesn't. It's just got no value to me.
What they should, if they were going to make a movie like this, Ridley Scott was the wrong person to do it. I think they should have got someone like Event Horizon guy. This movie should have been like Event Horizon, basically.
Well, Event Horizon was Alien versus Predator,
but it was schlock. It was a schlocky B movie.
But he directed Alien versus Predator.
Oh, he did, didn't he? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Is it Paul Thomas Anderson? I always get them
Paul
confused.
W.S. Anderson.
Paul W.S. Anderson, that's it.
He made Resident Evil and There Will Be Blood. What a great director.
But this should have had a vibe like... It should have worked like Event Horizon. It should have had that kind of vibe, because that's what people want from a horror sci-fi movie in space, which has big themes, but also loads of gore and schlock.
But what I like about Alien, and I guess no one else really does, is I like how slow it is, and I like the sense of dread and how it ramps up, and by the end of it, it's like oh my god! But it starts so slow and gentle, and then and I love the tone and I love how it feels. I just don't get that from you don't even really get that from Aliens, which is fine. They've chosen something else. I kind of feel like every director should have had one shot at it. And that Ridley Scott had his, and it was incredible. But he's obsessed with, he loves working, doesn't he? He just wants to work forever.
Yeah, well, he's trying to turn his movies out before he's too old to do them, and that's why, unfortunately, things like Gladiator 2 and you could say Napoleon have those kind of issues with them. And this
I loved Napoleon, though. I thought
if you look at Napoleon and compare it to Gladiator 2, Napoleon is such a far superior movie in terms of its direction and how it looks.
I saw Napoleon at a packed IMAX on the South Bank, and absolutely full. And I enjoyed Napoleon so much. I found it so funny because I felt like Ridley Scott had he hates Napoleon, and he made this film. He made this film that was basically trashing Napoleon, and I thought it was so funny. But I have to admit, I was the only person in that IMAX that was laughing out loud. Right?
Did you see the director's cut?
No, is it really good? Is it really long?
It is really long, but it does fill in some of the gaps.
I thought Napoleon was so funny. I just thought it was one of the funniest films I'd ever seen. Every time it cut back to Joaquin Phoenix, I was like, this is brilliant, right? It was made by a guy that just despises Napoleon, and it's so brilliant, right? I loved it, right? I hope it was deliberate, but there you go. This film, nah.
I think this is very much Ridley kind of autopilot, and just getting things done quickly. That's fine, that's good, and I think that's the whole problem with the script, where Ridley's just gone, yeah, I'm happy with that, and then not really just thought about the sort of 2 steps down the line, like
It's lazy and it suggests a real lack of respect for your audience, I think, as well, frankly.
And to be honest, by the end of it, I don't think anyone, Ridley Scott, the studio, the fans, I don't think anyone got what they wanted out of this film. It's so compromised. What it needed was a big decision to go, fuck you, we're doing this. And then that would have got its own fan base.
I've never met anyone, other than Ollie, I've never met anyone who likes it.
oh dear. I'm not in some mad minority, I don't like. There's parts of it I like. I'm not going around saying I think it's a great.
He sends me
movie.
text messages about it,
No, I don't.
At least once a week he seems to watch it.
He sends it a Valentine's Day card every year. All right, there will be fans of the film, so it's probably best to just sort of like, at the end, just say, you haven't wasted your life. It's all right if you do enjoy this film. Thanks for sitting through 2.5 hours of us slagging it off. But, is this anyone's favourite Alien film?
Well, that'd be interesting to know. So if anyone listens to this, leave a comment below and let us know. And justify yourself.
Explain why it's any better than Breach, the Bruce Willis movie from a couple of years ago, which is also about a space ark that's attacked by an alien. And is that it? Despite it being one of these awful geezer teasers, I genuinely think it's more enjoyable than that.
So for next commentary, we do something a little bit more different. We're going to move away from aliens and do something a little bit more fun. Maybe some Van Damme, I think, in future. Okay, folks, take care of yourselves and goodbye for now.
Goodbye.